Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. How are you? We've changed the set a little bit. We're in the Memorial COVID closet. I've got my Benny Agbayani Mets jersey, my gong. This is the permanent home of the gong right here. And then we got the Epstein birthday note of Donald Trump, because we can't forget that. We can't forget. This is the note that the president wrote to Jeffrey Epstein when they were best friends, right? The note the note was, may every day be another wonderful secret. Oh, of course, this is what everyone likes when they live that clandestine life. They want every day to be another wonderful secret. But we're knowing more and more. You can redact all you want, but we're know more and more about the Epstein files, and we know what Britain's doing, right? What the UK is doing. We'll talk about Andrew today. We'll talk about the Trump tariffs. SCOTUS has ruled. We're going to talk about all that today. Professor Dan's going to be joining me, and we'll talk. Missed yesterday. Couldn't get the signal up, but that's all right. Just watching all the stuff that was happening. We'll talk about that. But I want to talk about some of my next appearances. If you missed any of my performances, I mean, this is a performance of sorts, but I'm talking to a screen. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to a screen. And wouldn't you rather me talk to you? I'd rather talk to you. So I'm doing a show live in Sacramento. But believe it or not, I'm doing a show live in Sacramento on March the 4th at Laughs Unlimited. I'll be there, and go to my site, amok.com, and tell them, there'll all be things that you can sign up for. I'm just doing a 5-minute performance. If you're in the Sacramento area, come see me on March the 4th. Then I'm going to be in Fresno. Oh, Emil, you're going to take up valuable showtime to talk about Fresno? Yes, of course. That's how important Fresno is. I saw her on performing. I'm performing in the stage of the people. I'm performing in a storefront art space. Storefront. Emphasis on storefront. Full retail Emil Amok, coming at you in Fresno. And that is on the 7th, February 27th, Friday the 27th I think it's 7 p.m. 7 p.m., yes, at the Arts Annex there. Get your tickets at theroguefestival.org. If you're in Fresno or close to Fresno and you say, God, I like Emil. I didn't want to drive all the way up to San Francisco or to Berkeley or whatever, but I can drive to Fresno. See me on the 27th of this month at the Arts Annex there on Olive. And then I do a show at 2 p.m. on the 28th in Fresno. And then I do a show on Sunday at 5 p.m. at Fresno. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 shows in a row in Fresno, the Rogue Festival. I'm excited about that. It's Emil Amok 69. A Real Journalist Stands Up, a variation of the show that I did in San Francisco a couple weeks ago. But here's the thing. This guy keeps doing stuff. CFDT 34, convicted felon Donald Trump, 34 counts. He keeps doing stuff. I got to keep changing the show. So, see the new version of the show in Fresno. And that's going to be on February 27th at 7 p.m., the 28th at 2 p.m., and on March the 1st at 5 p.m., Sunday, March the 1st at 5 p.m. Then, March 4th, Wednesday, I'll be in Sacramento doing a 5-minute spot at Laughs Unlimited, part of the World Series of Comedy. The World Series, they've invited the Bat Boys to perform at the World Series of Comedy. Is Barry Bonds going to be there? Oh, he's on. Well, that's a Hall of Fame. He's been in a World Series. Okay, are the Dodgers going to be there at the World Series of Comedy? No. The Dodgers of Comedy will not be at the World Series of Comedy. The Bat Boys will be there. Me. I'll do 5 minutes. on Wednesday the 4th, Laughs Unlimited in Old Sac. Great little place. Go to my amok.com site. At some point, I'll put links to get tickets there. To amok.com and I'll put stuff in there on how you can access those tickets, buy tickets. It's free show, but it's by donation. Hope you can make it. And so that's plugola, right? I mean, we do this so that you know the dates, and not because we're like full of ourselves. Of course not. We're not full of ourselves, but because of the dates. And now we talk about the topic at hand, and the topic at hand is, of course, what happened. What happened yesterday when the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that the tariffs were illegal and unconstitutional in their usage by one certain president, Donald John Trump. Maybe we should just start calling him Donald John Trump, because it sort of emphasizes the John Trump, because that's what he is. He's a Donald John Trump. DJ, he's trying to go by DJT. Please, I thank you for your attention to this matter. DJT. DJT. That sounds like a rapper. He's DJT. DJ T-shirt. Anyway, what's going on? I thought to talk about the news, let's bring on my friend, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, who is Professor Emeritus Asian American Studies, Asian American Politics, Filipino American Studies, San Francisco State University, College of Ethnic Studies. Let's bring him on. Here he is, Daniel Phil Gonzalez. How are you, Dan?
Hey, we're good. Video's all straightened out.
Yeah,
that's not bad video. I need a haircut.
Yeah. Well, no, you look great. You look great. Thank you for being here on a Saturday. Usually we're reviewing the week on a
Thursday
or Friday. But this is good. I like Saturdays because it gives us more latitude. You know, we can see what people are saying.
It's the Trump dump, right?
Yeah.
The Trump dump is that they'll let stuff out there on Friday as late as possible, so it doesn't get the weekday coverage. Yeah. And so on Saturdays we get to do a checkout of the Trump dump.
Yeah, and so this, you got to figure that the Supreme Court, people knew that they were going to rule it. I mean, it's already it was a 3 rule on his tariff use.
Yeah,
and it was because tariffs and taxes and really with Congress and.
Nope, you're breaking up. Yeah, you're breaking up.
Okay, there you are. So anyway, as I was saying, the tariff control or the taxing control, Donald Trump bypassed it because he could have done it the hard way. You know, do it the hard way. You could do it the easy way. He wanted to do it the easy way, and he got his Supreme Court. Any surprises there, Mr. Professor with the legal background?
Not any surprises. Irritation and annoyance over the fact that the Supreme Court stalled this long. This was an emergency situation. The imposition of the tariffs, legality was an issue, constitutionality was an issue. The most immediate issue was the economic effect, the really bad economic effect. So if there was any kind of an emergency at all, it was an emergency created by the president's imposition of tariffs unilaterally. Okay. And so the Supreme Court had every reason to act quickly. They did not do that. And so severe criticism, I think they deserve for that. Okay. Then if you take a look at the dissent, you can
Mhm.
see how idiotic the so-called conservatives are, because their perspective barely makes any sense at all in just grammatical terms. In just
Yeah.
grammatical terms, but in constitutional terms, it's insane. Okay, they're insane. They need to be impeached. Okay, now you got Trump saying the Democrats want to expand the court to 21 people. I mean,
Yeah.
he's making really crazy statements like that. They do want to expand the court, but all they want to do is even out the difference, right?
Yeah, well,
Because
but before we get into that, because Trump did mention, the packing of the court or the idea of packing of the court, but to go back to the decision, it was Roberts and Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett who joined the liberals to form that 6-3, and usually 6-3 is, you figure that's going to be a conservative majority. This was that bipartisan kind of majority that you rarely see. And I don't think I would have expected 6-3 against Trump. I would have expected 5-4, but 6-3, does that signify a real shift in the amongst the Republicans? Because you pointed out something there. The Republicans sort of want to have it both ways. They
yes,
gave the right constitutional decision, but they delayed it so Trump can have a certain amount of, he can mete out his pain. He can mete out, whatever he wanted to do. He can use it, right? He can use the tariffs to to provide that kind of leverage for you call up Trump. You don't want, if you're a head of state, you don't want to follow his way. He says, I'm going to tariff you, and then everyone sort of bows down. He was using it as a big stick, and the courts let him use that stick, as opposed to saying, "Hey, wait a minute, we can't give this guy too much power. Let's try." I mean, what is it? If it was so simple, why did they take so long?
I think I I agree with you for the most part with your explanation that they're allowing Trump to do this. Okay, but I think the reason they allowed it was not so much to favor Trump, but to take care of their own image, okay,
Uh,
carefully. Roberts is always reflecting on his legacy, right? And I've always said that's really stupid, okay? He
mm,
should be doing what ju- real judges do, which is looking at the freaking law and making a decision based on his perspective of the law, especially when people keep screaming originalism. Remember
yeah, right,
Scalia and
right.
originalism, and he gets backed up by Alito and originalism, and he gets backed up by Thomas and originalism, and now he gets backed up by Kavanaugh and originalism. And when you look at their decisions, it got nothing to do with originalism. Republicans always criticize the so-called liberal judges, most of whom are actually moderates.
Yeah,
Okay, they're not liberals; they're actually moderates. Okay, but the conversation about political ideology, which is very limited in American
mm,
society, okay, has allowed the right to define who the left is and what their characteristics are. Okay,
right. It's
now
all
here's
relative,
where the
right?
problem is.
Yeah, your liberal bent is all relative, based on
Exactly,
where you put the conservatives or where
exactly.
you put the middle.
How are
Yeah.
they making their decisions? What are they making their decisions on? Okay. If they're making their decisions on the basis of precedent, if they're making their decisions on the basis of traditional interpretations of the amendments, for example, of the US Constitution,
Mm,
of most current right decisions made about those rights, okay,
mm,
how is that liberal? Okay,
yeah.
that's simply straight down the middle, moderate. That's
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 the way it's
not
supposed to be. It's supposed to
it's
be
not
that way.
partisan. It
Yeah.
is not partisan. Okay. But the right has succeeded. Why? Because the general public is vulnerable to those kinds of labelings. Okay.
Yeah.
They're very vulnerable to that.
All right. So this is when it came down. It was sort of surprise to me, but not. You got the 6-3. They stalled, and now Trump's reaction, of course, was anger because
Yeah.
he appointed Gorsuch, who
He's done
laid out.
everything. He's done everything but called them communists, right?
Yeah.
He's called them essentially he's called them traitors.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at what the Hegseth and the Trump administration has done to the senators who, the six senators
Sure.
who were just saying, "Hey, look, military, you don't have to,
You mean that military? You mean that huge that huge failure?
Well,
Okay.
that was a
Well, it was
huge
a
failure
failure
too.
in it was failure in the executive department, right?
Yeah.
Particularly with their quote control over the military. So it was a failure there. The
Mm,
policy was a failure. It was a failure because TV Judge Puro, right,
yeah.
failed in getting even over the hump of probable cause, right, in
Yeah.
front of a grand jury. That is the lowest level.
Well, here,
Typically, when people bring things before the grand jury, I would say probably 80-90% go forward with
yeah.
indictments. Okay, she couldn't even get that done.
All
Right,
right.
loudmouth Puro couldn't
So
get
that
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 done.
so that was a failure. But the point is, this is how the Trump administration uses, how it gets back at its adversaries. They uh, now they failed with the senators, but now this is sort of a more soft shoe version, getting at the courts, saying, "Oh, your family should be shamed,"
Oh,
and
ooh,
I,
you
I'm
consider
just
that soft? You
yeah.
consider that soft?
Well, I think compared to, you ought to be court-martialed. You should be, you're not a patriot
I
for
prefer that. I prefer those kinds of actions, faux legal actions, right?
yeah.
I prefer that to saying your family should be ashamed. You know why?
Why is that?
Lone wolf. That's why.
Oh,
Because there's crazy people out there, okay, that want to go shoot up pizza parlors because they
mm,
believe that there's child trafficking going on.
yeah,
In the meantime, there's actual child trafficking that has gone on, is going on, and that's not being properly prosecuted. And we can't even get information about past crimes because the people who are in charge of the Department of Justice are committing crimes. They are violating their own law.
so where, I mean, if you're you're Gorsuch, Coney Barrett, they were propped up by, essentially, by Trump. He disappointed them. They didn't show loyalty, so he's going after them this way. You fear lone wolf. Is that
Very
realistic?
dangerous. Very dangerous.
Yeah.
They're going to get death threats. Okay, the same
Mhm.
way that the quote liberal justices
Mhm.
get death threats, the same way that the Obama family gets death threats. Okay, that's where American society is. I'm sick and tired of people saying this is not who we are. Yes, it is, and the more you keep saying this is not who we are, the more you fail to address the reality of that problem.
Yeah, well, people don't want to admit that this is where they are, and actually, some people will look at yesterday's decision and say, "Hey, here's the opera. The courts have come down on the side of the The Constitution is won. The Constitution is won." So, you got to celebrate.
For the moment.
Yeah,
Okay,
a little bit.
what did I send you as a text? I said that Trump will not stop tariffing. He will defy the court, right? And he will go on with tariffs. Okay.
Well, come on, Dan. Tariffs is the most beautiful word in the English language. Tariff. I mean, the thing is, people. Now that we know, everyone knows that tariffs are taxes. 61% of American people have, before the decision yesterday, hated tariffs. So it's hard to believe that Trump wants to continue going down the tariff road, but he's going to take the more difficult road, or the maybe the temporary road, because the tariffs he can install now are just like for 150 days, or for a few months. This morning he went from 10% to 15%.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
He upped
yeah,
it a nickel overnight.
yeah,
Overnight,
and so,
upped it a nickel.
I mean, so this is how irrational things are. This is an irrational United States, an irrational democracy, which essentially makes it not a democracy. But this
Well,
is
you've hit on the major point, right? People keep on looking for the legal things, right? And the constitutionality. Man, these people have shown that they have an absolute disregard for any of that stuff. So, what
yeah.
does it come down to? It comes down to Trump's ego. It comes
Well,
down to Trump's libido.
it
That's what it's about.
ego, libido, and again. So it boils down to ego, libido, and anarchy. That's what we have. we have
I wish it were anarchy, because anarchy would have some form of organization, regardless of, it sounds contradictory, right? When I say
oh,
organization and
all right.
anarchy. Yeah.
Forgive me, not anarchy. Let's go with the broader term, chaos. It's chaos, which is a term that Trump embraces.
And
It's not
yes,
anarchy.
yes, and not only that, his Republican assistants, they all embrace it as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
the Democrats,
see,
when they make accusations, they say he thrives on chaos. Okay, well, you're giving him credit. You're
yeah.
giving him credit for doing that. Why don't you
See,
shut the hell up and speak intelligently about things that you can do to overcome this guy? Okay.
people really would rather have, when chaos settles, right? You look at the, gases or liquids, and you shake it up, right? And it's all like, all akimbo. It's not a muck, it's a akimbo more than a muck. It's chaotic, but then it settles down, and you see that we're really one, and we need that kind of placidity,
Uh-huh.
that says, "Hey, we are one gas, one liquid," right? But
Uh,
but he likes chaos. He likes chaos.
uh, right now, it's more gas than anything.
It's a
Right
lot more
now,
gas.
yeah,
That, that
it's we're really in bad shape. I mean, the best thing is that people on the purported left, right,
Mhm.
are gaining a greater sense of identity. That's one. They actually know who they are now,
Yeah.
which means that they're able to shape some kind of policy position. Okay, which is good. That's good.
Uh,
Okay, but
uh,
what they still need to do is to show the people how you're going to fix it. Tell
well,
me how
they
you're
have
going
it.
to fix it.
All right, look, all right, so you speak for the left and say, oh, the purported left, but how about the purported right? Because what this seems, with the decision yesterday seems to me is that uh, there are there are some real splits that have emerged since Marjorie Taylor Greene left, Congress, and with the Epstein files, and now we have the tariffs. I mean, this is they're not the MAGA, right, or the Trump right is not united, and I just, and he keeps calling out rhinos, or those rhinos, but the rhinos are beginning to stand up. Maybe this decision gives rhinos a right to build a backbone. Maybe the Republicans can stand up and say, well, if the court stood up, because, they're like the third branch, we're, you know, Congress, the first branch, but there's no Congress. What, maybe
Okay.
Congress can now stand up and say, I got a spine. I got a spine.
Nah,
No?
nope. Yeah, okay. First of all, Rhino, Republicans in name only. Okay, that was taken up when the Republican Party started going more and more extreme right. Okay, the
Mm,
further right they went, the more quote traditional conservative Republicans were labeled rhinos. Okay,
yeah.
a lot of those people have voluntarily left office.
Yeah.
They've left office. They have stated that they're not going to run again, right? Okay. They have actually put the majority of the Senate in play for this November. Okay.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
House, everybody is kind of making assumptions, right? That the House is going to get one. I really hate that. The Democrats have to work for every freaking vote they can get. And you
Yeah.
do that by telling the people how you're going to remedy their immediate situation and how you're going to protect against abuses like those that were performed by Trump and his administration in both administrations, right? You have to move in that direction. You can't just go backwards and say, we're going to get back to when before Trump screwed everything up the
Hey,
second
look,
time. Yeah, that's not enough.
Dan, no one has time for solutions, Dan. That takes thinking. No, no, no. The Democrats have no solutions. They
No,
just want to get the bad guys.
it takes an educated and objectively informed electorate. That's what it takes.
Yeah, well, this is the problem, because right now the Republicans would seem, I've seen the Republicans would have an opportunity to stand up to Trump, but so far, they're still kneeling. They're still kneeling. and that's not a good sign. I mean, I don't see people peeling off, but we should be. I think we should. They've been given a kind of a sign by the courts that hey, start peeling off and start going moving toward this thing we have called the Constitution.
Now,
Let
they're
us
afraid
let
of
us.
the same thing that I said. Everyone should be afraid of when he starts talking bad about your family. Okay,
Yeah.
they're really afraid of that. I
Yeah.
know
Oh
that there's
yeah.
people
Yeah.
in Congress and there's people in the Senate that have privately said, okay, I'm afraid for my family. They
Yeah.
have said that. Okay, and so that's deeply personal. That's profound. We have to be able to put ourselves in their circumstances, and that would
Yeah.
allow us to understand their behavior in a lot more complete sense. Okay,
But then,
that's really profoundly personal.
but
You know,
that's what that.
look at the people who have left the election officials
Yeah.
who have left their offices. No, people
Sure.
are unwilling not only to run for the office, they're unwilling to work in the office.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what I'm trying to get at when I do my shows, when I say the politics is all personal, and when it gets deep, like in terms of Filipinos, and we see how long uh, Filipinos and other people of color have had to deal with these issues. It almost gives you a certain amount of hope that we've been through this, we can come out of it.
Yes,
But
if you
when
know your history. If you know
if you
your
know
history.
if you know your but the thing is you connect to the politics of the day because it's so darn personal, and when it gets to that level and it gets personal, dangerous personal, like my family, my life, my I'm fearful. This is when we need an intervention. We need if one party is pushing it that hard that that's the feeling. We need people have to come to their senses and say, this isn't supposed to happen
Well,
in
I think
politics.
I think the violence, okay,
Yeah,
and terrorism,
yeah,
governmentally sanctioned terrorism that is being committed by ICE and the
mm,
Border Patrol, right,
yeah,
has motivated not only Minnesota, but I think the general public.
yeah,
There's growing resistance all the way across the board. It's not just the coastal states, right? It's now
mhm,
the middle America, right? Minnesota is middle America, okay?
right. And
And
it's funny. It's funny. People have noticed it because Renee Good and Alexander Preddy died in Minnesota, but now the New York Times was reporting there was another death. Way
yes,
before
yes,
Martinez, who it was
yes.
not reported, and it
Yeah,
was
because
like,
he's Latino. That's why it
yeah,
wasn't reported. He's just another
exactly.
brown guy.
Exactly, and that's one of the things. And when and you think of the brown guys, and the people of color who peeled off last November to give Trump the 49% plurality, right?
Because let's face it, once again, I call them vulnerable because I don't
Yeah,
want to call them stupid. Okay,
yeah,
they're vulnerable. Why are they vulnerable? How could you believe that a president could make everything better for you by reducing prices, right?
mhm,
And reducing taxes. He might be able to do the tax reduction, but all of
yeah,
these things require more power and authority than the president has in practical terms. I'm not talking
yeah,
about policy, I'm not talking about law. Just in practical terms, there's no way that a president could fix the problem. Okay, it would take
yeah,
the president, Congress, and it would actually take cooperation of the private sector to get all of that straightened out. When was the last time we saw that happen?
yeah.
Okay,
But but
it's happened in the state of California. It's
yeah,
happened on the West Coast, right? It's happened in New York in past history. You have to be a little bit older to remember all of
mm,
this stuff. But
yeah,
runaway inflation that occurred between 76 and
yeah,
82, remember that? And
yeah.
that
Hey,
was
look,
addressed at
Dan.
state level first.
What I've noticed is that when you hear reporters talk about the past, they look back at 4 years and say, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's history. That's
Or
prehistoric."
they look,
And we're
yeah,
going back 40 years. We're going
yes,
back 50
50
years.
years. Yes, yes.
And that's where you get the
Have to
hope. You
do
find
that.
the
And
hope
you have to
50
look at
years
the
ago.
causes.
Yeah. But that's where you find the hope. You find the hope 50 years ago. Say, oh, we have really been through hell. And, so we can survive Trump. That's my optimism ultimately that I
Well,
feel.
okay, okay. Let's go back to what are the effects of the decision, right? So
Mm, Oop. Oh, Dan popped out. You know, that's what happens when you live in San Francisco. You can't rely on the internet. Oh, there he is. There.
No,
Oh,
I
all right.
I think we're being victimized.
Oh, I don't know. All right. So go
But
ahead. Go back
okay,
to the
okay.
decision.
So yeah, let's okay. So we have to move on. But
Yeah.
the tariffs. Okay. So one of the
Yeah.
first things people are talking about is what are you going to do? Give them refunds? Okay.
Yeah.
And my answer to that is yeah, it's been done. It's been done at the state level. It's been done at the federal level. Okay.
When was it done? I guess they have they can get a general sense, or they can have the exact amount that that you paid in tariff.
Well, I think a good start was what Pritzker did, right? Governor Pritzker. Okay, that's where I really want to go. The states
Yeah.
have to mobilize. The states have to
Yeah.
mobilize, and a lot of the pressure that was brought by the 21 states that got a myriad of lawsuits going against the Trump
Yeah.
administration and against specific members of the Trump
Yeah.
administration, all that stuff is hitting the fan. And the fun part is that because of Doge and all that activity, right? There are there are fewer staff members, and they're underfunded like crazy, so they can't
Yeah.
possibly handle all of that stuff. They can't
Yeah.
possibly do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have to hire Lindsay Halligan to do all of them. Or I mean that's the thing. He
There's
built
not
a
enough. There's not enough beauty contest winners with a JD. That's the problem.
yeah.
Much less passing a bar.
That is the problem with Trump. If you want a beauty pageant and you have a JD, you're in. You can be attorney general.
Yeah,
The attorney
I got
general.
all kinds of nasty things I could say about other equipment that you would need.
Yeah. Well, the attorney general. She's the only one I know who on her tongue uses false eyelashes.
Whoa. Whoa.
She's got false eyelashes on her tongue. That's how bad she is. That woman.
No, man. You left it wide open for me, and I'm not gonna go there. I
Don't
am
go
not
there.
gonna
Don't
go
go
there.
there. Don't go.
Okay.
All right. So Dan, all right, so you're
I'm
for
gonna have to
refunds.
apologize to Kathy and Linda and everybody else, man.
That's all right. All your female fans still love you. All right. So
Woo.
Dan, you're saying that refunds, you got to refund the
Yes,
money.
do it. Do it. It can be done, but they're saying no, it's good. Can you imagine? Some Republic, I can't remember who it was, but one member of Congress says, you know what? It would cost $120 billion just to process the refund.
Yeah. Well, 120 billion sounds like a lot, but we are 39 trillion in debt, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
what's
well, but
120?
see, yeah, the estimate is between 150 and 200 billion, and then
Yeah.
the Democrats are criticizing that and said that's a $50 billion cap. Why do we
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
arguing about the stupid stuff? Don't argue about the stupid stuff. Argue about whether or not there is a mechanism by which some kind of recompense can be given to the general public. Okay, Smirkanish put up a poll. He does his daily polls, right?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and, and he put up a poll and he said, okay, who should get a refund? Should it be the importers who paid the tariffs,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
He
Should
said
it should it be members of the consumer public, right, that paid the costs? Okay. Or should it be the US Treasury? It already is the US Treasury. They're the
Yeah.
guys that are holding the money, right?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then they had, well, we
It's
don't know. Okay.
but
Well,
yeah.
overwhelmingly, the poll came back the consumers. That's the correct thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's the argument against that? And the Democrats are assisting in this. Well, you got to watch out because a sudden input of that kind of money from the government could have inflationary effect. Look at that, man. They're tripping all over themselves, worrying about stuff that may or may not happen. Okay. That is the problem with the Democratic Party. They're so
Well,
worried about acting and then they do the wrong thing anyway. Okay.
well, that's the thing about I don't know. I think I'm prepared to never seeing my tariff money that I spent come back to me. And it could be as much as, like 1,200, 1,500 bucks per family, they say. So Dan, you froze again. Dan is frozen again because he's just staring at me. That's not like what a stupid point you made. Oh, there he's back again. He's back again. Let's see.
My
Oh, there you're
my
back again.
my signal is strong. Okay.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
good.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Pritzker said 1700. I think that's a good start. I think that's a good start. I
Yeah.
think other states. I think. Let me see. Pritzker. Yeah. I think it's a middle state. They do have a lot of transportation, right? They got the Great Lakes. They got highways. They got railroads. But I want to see what the California estimate would be. I want to see what the New York, the Virginia, right, the New Jersey estimates would be. Look at the port states, right?
Yeah.
I want to see what even the Texas estimate, and
So,
Louisiana.
and then look, if he had to pay it back, if Trump had to pay it back, he'd spin it as, "Hey, look, this is what the
Yeah,
tariffs
he
got."
just yeah, he put his name on the checks again.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Oh,
Remember
yeah,
that?
yeah. Put the
Okay.
name on
And
your
so
checks.
why do they keep saying, "Hey, man, it's not possible to do"? Dude, you already did it, even in
Yeah.
your own first administration. And then
Yeah.
it was the Democrats who did it back in the 90s. I think it was under Clinton in 97. But anyway, you have to check on that history. But
Yeah.
you
Hey,
know,
so Dan, here, bottom line on this story, will it make a difference? I mean, is the tide turning? Is the tide turning on Trump? And will more Republicans now grow a spine and speak out? Is this the signal we wanted, or is it just a minor thing, or it's a major thing? But will it kind of dissipate and
I
Trump will be
think
Trump?
I think the Republicans are screwed either way. I think if they do come out and show a little bit more resistance, they're doing it because they believe they have to in order to maintain position in Congress. Okay,
Mm,
and they're worried about their own constituents,
yeah.
which is what they should be doing, right? In the
Yeah.
first place, that's exactly what they should be
All right.
doing.
So
Okay,
the answer is the Republicans are screwed no matter what.
no matter what.
And
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 they realize that. So when you're screwed, no matter what, do you come out and show a spine, or you just wait it out?
I
Okay,
think you just try to hide. You try
keep
to
your head
hide.
down. Keep
Yeah.
your head down and get flak jackets for your family.
Yeah, and
Uh, you know,
that's it. Well, I mean, Trump has come out swinging against the courts. I think the Wall Street Journal says that Trump should apologize. Well, I don't think we're going to get that, but he should apologize. I mean, apologize to the judges, apologize to
well,
the institutions.
don't you? I find that comedic, right? I find that comedic because the Wall Street Journal is they're engaging in beyond Pollyanna,
Yeah. Oh,
beyond
don't.
Pollyanna fantasy. A Trump
Yeah.
apology. What? What?
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone who gets hurt, in grievance politics wants an apology. But see, so Trump is taking grievance politics, and he's now the grievant, and so, but now he's been told, no, 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 you
He's
can't.
always the grievant. He's always the guy that just say, "Yo, they're beating up on me." Yeah,
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
he's
I
the
want
baby. No, I thought, and to use the baby analogy, I think that the tariffs were like, if you get your baby in the high chair, takes, eats and takes the food, turns upside down. That's Trump, right? But yesterday with the court decision, it's also baby who vomits and poops on
to.
himself in the same high chair. That's what the big mess is about. That's the
Yeah,
big
well,
mess.
no, it's worse than that because Iran is not spilling a bowl of Cheerios.
Yeah.
That's not Iran.
Iran,
Iran is
Iran.
very serious. Okay, it's worse than potentially than Afghanistan. You know, he's talking limited action, right?
Yeah.
But he's got enough firepower. Okay,
He's got,
everywhere.
it's all going there. It's all
Arab Sea,
going there
all the
now.
way to the Indian Ocean, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to use Diego Garcia, right? And
Yeah.
the Brits now the Brits are getting flacked, right? Because Starmer won't let them use it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was surprised. I've seen the Indian Ocean, and this is how America centric I am. I'm standing staring at the Indian Ocean saying, "Oh, is this the Pacific? Is this the Atlantic?" I mean, really, I said, "Oh, it's the Indian Ocean. Oh my God, it's vast. It's here." I mean, but
Yeah.
that's, you put a lot of Americans in there, and you test your Americacentrism, and like every white person I saw in that part of Asia, I thought was American, and they start speaking to me in Russian, German, any
Yep.
number of
Yep.
different languages,
Yep.
and it's wild. But this is to go back to the point. This is Donald Trump. He's using this as a distraction from all his ills, the tariffs and everything else, because America likes a good fight, right? The American military might.
Uh,
This is, I mean,
uh,
he was for peace.
no,
He was for
no.
peace.
America doesn't want war. They want flex.
Oh,
They want to flex warlike hostilities, right?
oh,
In the hopes, or the actually, it's beyond hopes. They actually
yeah,
have an expectation that just by flexing and saying, "Look
yeah,
at that, okay, this is what we got, okay,
yeah,
look at that,
yeah.
okay," that people are going to fold. That's what
See,
they're
and
saying,
yeah,
okay.
and
And-
that's why Trump misses his tariffs, because he can flex and tariff, no war. But
yeah.
now he may have to use war, and that would be terrible. That would be terrible. I think that would be more alienating, more costly, alienating within, alienating with our allies. I mean,
Well,
Starmer, sure,
okay. Let's talk about what Iran policy. Okay, what is his objective if he flexes? Okay, and he uses actually limited military effort. Okay, what's the objective? Iran will say what? Okay, wait, we're going to make a deal. And what does that do? That gets us back to somewhere in the Obama administration, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, but the Iran regime continues. What happened in Venezuela? We're going to run that. We're going to run Venezuela.
So,
The U.S. is going to control and run Venezuela for years into the
so,
future.
so
Okay,
we're going to run Iran. Is
did
that
that
it?
happen? Did
We're
that
going to
happen?
run. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
So
going to run
you
Iran.
got the same people, just a different individual, right? But you got the same structure. You got the same people in power in Venezuela, but they're more willing to deal with a corrupt regime, a corrupt American regime. So if he succeeds in his policy, okay, the best that he's going to get is that Iran is willing to stay in office. They're going to stay in power. Okay, the mullahs are going to stay in power, but they're going to be more willing to deal with a corrupt regime. What's the problem? That corrupt regime, at most, is going to last maybe another 3 years. I think it's going to fold even before that.
Yeah.
Okay, and a lot of that is going to be because of the outcome of the November election and beyond. The resistance to the outcome of the November election, I'm talking about Republicans pretending as though there's corruption and fraud. And
Where?
yeah, all throughout the country. They're going to
Pretend in,
challenge,
in the
yeah,
election. Yeah, yeah.
yes. They're gonna claim that all over the place. It's going to fail miserably once again in the courts. Okay, but here's the issue: who's going to enforce it? I asked that question 2 years ago. I asked that question again at the beginning of the Trump administration when he was reelected. Well, actually, before
Yeah, yeah.
they took office, but in November, I asked that question: who's going to enforce it? So you're getting court decisions, right? I was looking at Mark Elias, really successful in the courts at fighting against the Trump regime. Okay, but my question to him was directly: who's going to enforce it? So what? You got all
Well,
these court
that
cases
is
go against
what
the government.
that's what the bully does, right? That the bullies, you say you can't do that, and he says, "So what? Make me," right?
That's
And
right.
that's sort of where we're at in real
Well,
politics. In real
yes,
politics,
in
we're at make me.
something unique here. Once again, reversal of what the South, right, did
Mhm,
regarding states' rights in their
mhm,
resistance, right, to change,
mhm.
right, civil rights, okay, being enforced by federal law. So now we have a situation where the argument for states' rights is coming from the left and from moderates, right,
Right.
who are arguing what? That the federal government is offending, okay, not only the Constitution, the federal government is harming our constituents, is harming the residents of our states. That's that's always where the answer to Trump has been.
Yeah.
That's always where it's been.
Boy, we're I don't know if that happens. I mean, right now with the buildup in the Middle East, it looks like Trump even yesterday said, they got to make a deal. If they don't make a deal, then something bad's going to happen. And even reasonable Republicans are saying, yeah, we got to do this. But where is Congress in all this? Because if this is an act of
Even
war,
Democrats are saying they got to do it because
yeah,
they know that without regime change, Iran is going to remain the problem that it's been. They have been state sponsors of terrorism all over the
yeah.
world. They have
So,
done that.
so what do we? I mean, you can say, well, let's hold up on this action by going to Congress and getting a. Will that help? Bring people to some kind of. You just want to stop someone from pulling the trigger, so that the longer you stop them, maybe you'll get them to talk. Maybe you get them to a deal.
Yeah.
Uh, and so
The bad news is you can't stop them. Okay. The only way that this would not happen is if the military refuses to act. That's the
oh,
only way that would happen. Your military says, nope, we're not going to do that.
so that's unlikely.
Yeah. Because there's enough Trumpers, right,
Yeah.
within the military.
Well, yeah, the Department of War is headed up by the King Trumper.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's
Yeah.
nothing. What it comes down to is what the generals and admirals want to do.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. And like I said, most of the military that have a political perspective, even though they're nonpartisan, and I'm giving them that. I'm not, the military. Most of them want to be nonpartisan, and they want to do what's right for the country and do
Yeah.
what's constitutional. They want to be committed, right, to the Constitution itself. I'll give them that. Okay, but even they agree that Iran is a problem and they're a continuing problem. And so
So,
their
all
tendency would be to act.
right. So we may not. I mean, Trump says you got a deal, Iran, and Iran may not make a deal, or they might. But what are the chances of war? High.
Uh, I think limited warfare, and then he'll taco. He'll
Yeah.
he'll he'll they'll try a limited strike kind of thing. Remember when they were bragging that they
Well,
wiped out,
this
they
is.
completely destroyed
Well,
Iran's
this is the
ability,
thing. In
right? Nuclear
June,
ability.
yeah, in June we forget that we struck Iran and totally obliterated, and not obliterated. Not like the Epstein files. We obliterated the Epstein files, but we have not obliterated the nuclear capability of Iran. So, well, all right. Let's. Everyone's into these predictive sites like
Nah, man.
Kalshi and stuff, which
Yeah,
is weird because it's like that's like public opinion polls. Uh, it's like gambling with public opinion, but not scientifically to show that any kind of real predictive, ability. I mean, the whole thing about polls is it's predictive in the sense that you get a large enough sample, you get a random sample. But in Kalshi, it's not random. It's people with money who like to gamble, or people with,
polymarket too.
yeah, polymer. It's just people with discretionary income, or maybe it's not discretionary income, but they love to gamble and they love to play around with these real.
Which is one of the most hurtful vices
Right. It is.
currently popular practice.
Well, but that is the reason why you can't look at Kalshi and you can't look at all these poly market and say they have predictive value that actually means something. They have, bad polls always say for entertainment purposes only. For entertainment, and that's all this is, for entertainment purposes only. And I
That
take your
sounds
money. Thank
that
you.
sounds like the warnings or the exculpations, right, that are stated on YouTube
Yeah.
for that show people how to make a bomb.
Oh yeah. Oh,
This is
yeah.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
educational purposes only.
Yeah, for
Okay.
entertainment. Yeah,
Gotta-
actually, they should put warnings on like before you vote, for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, this should be on the ballot, on the
Well,
polls.
if you vote for the right, you vote for people on the right.
Yeah,
That's true. It's true
yeah,
that it's for entertainment because whatever you think you're voting for ain't happening, man.
ain't having, yeah, entertainment purposes only.
It ain't
Hey,
happening.
hey, so I this isn't on our list, But I do want to talk about Colbert and
Oh,
what's
oh,
happening there. I mean,
yeah. I think he went a little overboard.
he might have misinterpreted, but this whole thing about the equal time. Look, as a former broadcaster, now I'm doing this, but this doesn't really matter. The FCC has no say so on how explicit I can be here in the podcast world. But I still, I still, like a sense of decorum and a sense of fairness. If I, well, maybe not fairness, because that means that for every left wing radical like yourself, I got to bring in a right wing radical, and I'm not going to do that.
I can play the right wing radical.
Yeah, yeah, I know you can play for entertainment purposes only, and but I just wonder the bad thing with Colbert is that's the situation is that it does put a chill in people on what they can or cannot say. And people would rather not say. And that's a bad thing. And people should say it. I mean, and whether you're Colbert or just a regular person. But the bad thing is going to be a chill. And anytime there's a chill, it's a bad thing.
Okay, I've
Um,
converted my background. I have removed my green screen, and now
yeah.
you can see my actual armory.
Oh
So
yeah,
now
yeah, yeah.
I'm a right wing radical
Now you're a right wing radical. Yeah.
with a whole store load
Yeah.
of
And
M16s.
and I
These are not AR-15s. These are the fully automatic military style
Oh,
weapons.
okay. All right. So not the semi, not the
Yeah,
semi.
you want to be a right wing radical, you got to be equipped. You
Okay.
got to
Well,
be
thank you.
equipped.
And I've got a fully automated gong there
Okay,
behind me.
okay. Well,
All
it's a
right. So,
cleverly disguised disruptive electronics device.
thank you, thank you,
Okay,
thank you. So,
that is comparable to the device that caused the Havana syndrome.
the
Ah,
what syndrome?
there it is.
All right. Hey, so Dan, really, seriously, I think maybe Colbert misinterpreted a little bit, but this is all communications, right? Communications between the lawyers and they try to say, oh, you shouldn't do this, but and
Because
CBS is saying,
you might trigger.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's possible that you're correct. Okay, but
Well, yeah,
even if he did misinterpret, okay,
mhm,
even if he took the FCC at its worst,
mhm, yeah,
which is easy to do because most of the stuff that they've been doing, even during the Biden administration, was at its worst. Right?
yeah,
It started during the Obama administration. It worked its way through the Biden administration into Trump one. Right? And then
yeah,
and then it worked its way into Trump two. So
yeah,
it's been consistent, right?
yeah,
Why?
yeah,
Because they've allowed members of what? Of the private industry side of broadcast communications, right? To be in
mhm,
the leadership and membership of their commissions.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's all rigged. It's been rigged.
It is rigged. It is rigged, and this is uh, you know I think that what what CBS is doing and what you can
Oh my
say they
God.
are guilty of
Oh,
doing is
geez.
that they already have shown their true
They're going
colors.
to come after 60 Minutes now.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know, but the thing about CBS is there it's a preemptive. It's the opposite of a preemptive strike. It's a preemptive kneel down, right? We're gonna kneel down. We're gonna be humble to you, Your Excellency, Mr. Trump, and that's sad because people see it and they say, well, CBS, they got all the money. If they're doing that, what are we gonna do? I'm just a bumpkin here, and then they shut up, and then that's the effect. That's the chilling effect throughout the nation. All right, hey, Jesse Jackson's going to lie in state.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think that.
Okay.
I mean, it's a good thing. I just, I was surprised when Jesse Jackson died. How Donald Trump just embraced him in social media, just to try to use him. I guess Black History Month. I love Jesse Jackson. Of course, forget about forget about what Trump did for the Central Park Five, or
Yeah.
all the
Oh
other
yeah.
racist things he's done.
Well, his
So
anti-Obama stuff,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and Jesse Jackson, was really critical of Trump for having done that. Now all of a sudden, Jesse's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you met him and you knew him.
Who?
Jesse
Jack?
Jackson.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I didn't
Oh,
meet
I thought
him.
you
No.
did.
No, what I did was
What was happening during the '84?
I was in Moscone. I was not covering the big speech with
Okay. All right.
but I was there listening to it,
Okay.
and
But you
just
didn't
taking.
actually meet.
Yeah, I wasn't covering that story, but I did cover the convention. I didn't,
Right.
I was covering the
I got to
reaction.
glad hand him. I actually got to glad hand him.
Yeah.
Remember where the interviews were being done? They had built this platform, and
Yeah.
it was like 15 feet in the air. You had to climb up a ladder. I thought,
Yeah.
what, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they had this tent built on top of a platform, and then
Mhm.
you'd have to go in there to get interviewed. They wanted that angle, right, so that they could
Yeah.
shoot down over
The arena.
the amphitheater. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So I got the glad hand them, but I didn't exchange anything else other than
You didn't exchange any fluids, bodily fluids or anything? No.
no,
Okay.
no,
All right.
no.
All right.
This was yeah. This well, you're right that it was an issue at the time because AIDS was just
Yeah. I
becoming
mean,
a known factor.
that was the thing that got me, that AIDS was big, and the LGBTQ community was just gaining strength, and the unity that he. Well, it was the only way that he was going to mount a successful challenge, if he built a coalition. And
That's right,
the
and that
first
was
time,
he
yeah,
already had a coalition, but this
yeah,
broadened the coalition
it was
because he
the
was inspiring. He was really inspiring. He was
yeah,
also scary as hell. That's what
yeah,
cracks me up about Republicans now saying, "Yeah, he was great," right, and all that,
yeah,
because I can remember that they were calling him a pimp. They
yeah,
were using all kinds of racist language to describe him. They were going into his background, the fact that he was born out of wedlock. They were
yeah,
doing all the nastiest stuff, right?
yeah,
To Jesse Jackson, largely because they feared his impact. They were
yeah,
fearing, the movement that he was now expanding,
mm,
and that it was clearly affecting Democratic politics. They were scared too. The
yeah.
Democratic, leadership was also fearful of
Oh,
his.
they weren't ready for the kind of diversity that Jesse Jackson. It was a lot of people are saying it.
Nor were they ready to accept the accuracy and level of criticism.
Yeah, I mean, it was called radical inclusion
Yes,
back then,
yes.
and now you see it's kind of normalized,
Now they're
and
saying,
who,
well, he was great rhetorician,
yeah,
but
right,
back then he was saying he was an aggressive, hateful person. The
right, and what about and look who became the standard bearer for those ideas that he put forth. Bernie Sanders was, oh,
yeah,
we can accept
that's
him.
right.
He's the
Well,
acceptable version.
he was actually in that regard, he was picking up where MLK had
Yeah,
begun, right?
yeah,
MLK, started out, of course, equal rights, civil rights, okay, and then he became anti-war. He became
yeah,
anti-Vietnam War,
right,
and he
right,
talked about the exploitation of the working class at the same time that he was criticizing Vietnam policy and activity, right? The military activity in Southeast Asia. He was also looking at the exploitation of the working class as in the military, right?
yeah, and
So
yeah.
class and economics became part of his argument, and Jesse Jackson shared that perspective and position.
Yeah, I did not realize that in '84, when I was listening to that speech, that was a key moment in our politics. But as you mentioned, Dr. King, bringing up the Vietnam War and civil rights, that Riverside Church speech,
Yes,
right? That
yes.
was a speech. And when you look back and you say, well, what are those moments? And, this is
I'm
not
I'm
just
getting
black.
I'm getting chills just remembering when
Yeah.
the Riverside speech.
Yeah.
It
It's
is
not
that was
just
outstanding.
it's not just Black history; it's American history,
Yes,
and
which
this is something
which
that
the right is trying to obliterate,
right,
right?
and this is something, and that's one of the ironic things about the Trump embrace of Jesse Jackson and Black History Month at a
Yep.
time when he's like saying, "Oh no on DEI." Well,
Yeah. Well, they lost another one, right? With that the Philly monument where
oh
they tried
yeah,
to take away all references to slavery,
oh
like it
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
exist. Yeah. What the hell are you doing?
Well, at
Okay.
least, yeah, that
I
the court ruling on that. I mean, there's a number of these court rulings now reversing what we've seen, but it's almost like everything that the Trump administration does has to be challenged and will be rectified in time. But it's all based on, they're making it active. They're making our protest or our disagreement, they're forcing us to be active, because if we're not active, then it just flows. The ebb and flow of BS in America, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
excuse me. One last bit on the Olympics. You watching?
Oh
I,
yeah.
th- I don't know when I have been this emotional about an Olympics. And tonight's the hockey. That's going to be good for the
Yeah.
men, and the men's hockey against Canada. The women's hockey, oh my God,
Yeah. That was fantastic, man.
and that Layla Edwards, that big African American, she's the
Yeah.
first. That's a bit of Black History Month for a first African American on woman on a hockey Olympic team. She was fantastic. She set up that the goal that tied the game,
Yeah.
because she was a
The
defender.
pass to Knight.
Well, not so much a pass. I thought it was more a shot.
It
It was
was a shot.
a
It was
shot
a shot, and
that
it
back.
got
Yeah.
nicely, yeah, nicely
It.
deflected. I mean, you know what impressed the hell out of me was the variety of techniques
Mhm.
that they had. That every team member had a variety of different shooting techniques, right? And they
Mhm.
also had great touch when
Yeah.
they're in anywhere near the goal, right? They had great touch and really, really clever, really
Yeah.
smart. I mean,
I I started liking hockey in college, and I go to this big tournament called the Bean Pot,
sure, in
and the
Boston.
bean in the yeah, in Boston, and oh man, college hockey, the best Olympians are in that college age, 19, 20, 21, 22. But that mix of young and veterans. Also, Harvard women's hockey used to be used to run women's hockey, Olympic hockey,
Sure.
until they had a scandal a couple years ago, and then they kind of cleaned house, and now it's all different. There was an Asian woman, right,
Oh,
on the Olympic hockey team. The last go around, I forget her name now, but there was a Chinese American woman from Harvard.
I have a vague recollection, yes.
Yeah, but now the big thing was the first African American, Layla Edwards. She was good. She was good. And so, all right, so got very emotional about the hockey. Got very emotional about Alyssa
Alyssa?
Liu.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, what a skater. And
Oakland? Oakland?
Oakland, I know, and everyone is talking about, oh, she was free. She was, and actually, there's a good lesson there, right? About
Yes,
just being like
yes.
just being in the
Well,
flow.
she managed the reason she's able to do that was because when she decided to come back, she told her coaches,
Yeah,
I'm gonna make the decisions.
yeah. Well, this guy,
And you gotta I'll work with you, I'll take your advice, but I'm gonna make the decisions. I want to do it my way.
yeah,
And there was only a bit of that in the discussion after she won the gold, but before before the Olympics even started, there was some discussion and coverage about her comeback and how she was able to manage that. And
yeah.
that was the better story in my opinion.
Well, it's a good story about just how she came back after 2 years away, and what struck me is how you have a moment. I because I was watching other athletes. I was
Sure.
watching, skiers, and you have your moment. Like maybe you're 18 and that was your moment, and if you blow it, but you got still some
Yeah,
ceiling,
you got some
you
time.
Yeah, you come back in 22 and you win, great. But then what if you come back in 26? That's what make Michaela Schifrin's, run.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
fantastic because she's in her mid to late 20s. Dominant skier, never won a gold, and she won it in slalom. That was very emotional. Um, I saw well, I saw another. There's so many emotional stories that make you wonder. Oh, the Ilya Malinin, right?
oh yeah, oh
He
yeah.
come he falls twice. Very emotional. I'm just you and then if you win, of course, that's it. You're branded for life. Olympic champion, Olympic medalist, Olympic gold, whatever you can get.
What about the controversy over goo?
Oh, well, I'm trying to feel, the goo thing the last time out is because it's tied up with Uyghurs and tied up with because it was in Beijing.
Yeah,
Now it's a little less so. And she's been 4 years a champion, but there's another half pipe free skier, this Zoe Atkin
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
Britain. And she's English and Malaysian. Her mother's Malaysian, born in Massachusetts, I believe. So she's an Asian American, and she's not skiing for the US, she's skiing for the Brits. And there is Goo, not born in the US, she's a citizen, well, she's an American,
It's right
but
here in San Francisco. Yeah.
yeah, in San Francisco, but she chooses to ski for China. And I don't think she has dual citizenship because China
No,
doesn't allow dual
no,
citizenship.
they don't.
So here's so part of me,
But they allow the maintenance of a bank account offshore.
yeah, I know that's the thing is because it's all about the money and rules, right? Rule of law, right? It's because
I'm not
this is
saying that that's the reason she's doing it. I'm saying that those
I'm
possibilities
not, yeah,
exist.
I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying that she has chosen to portray herself as this global citizen,
Yeah.
but not really. She's China and she's really money. And I guess it just makes that's just sort of, it makes me not want to care about her too much.
Well,
She'll
I
do,
think she's also her mom's a tiger mom.
yeah. I mean, look, Eileen Goo's smart. She goes to Stanford, very attractive Asian,
She's got a
Asian.
complaint. She's got a complaint based on her assertion of assault that she was assaulted at
Oh,
Stanford.
She
You
was
didn't know that?
assault.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
she was assaulted at Stanford.
yes.
Oh my God. I mean, she's. I mean, I just 4 years ago, I it was the beginning, and that should have been the time when something should have happened in terms of she skied for the U.S. It's her prerogative. 4 years later, kind of a non-issue. Kind of believe, sort of with JD Vance, she should be skiing for the U.S. But now we have this other skier, and look, it's okay if these people who have dual connections, if they ski for their ancestral, their parents' ancestral, country, but only if they lose, right? It's better if they win. We want them as Americans. We want them. That's selfish, but that kind of the way it boils down. It wouldn't be an issue if she wasn't a winner. She's a
Well,
winner, so
I think. Okay, uh, if I was going to be critical of them, okay,
mm,
what I would say is you're getting the benefits of being an American.
yeah,
Okay, and so along with benefits comes obligation. That's it. So that
yeah,
for every right and privilege, there's a duty. Okay, and if they live in the comfort of America, okay, and then they have an obligation.
yeah. But there are all these people who see themselves. I'm a global citizen. And when it comes to
You
money,
have the
I'm
comforts
citizen.
of America. You can claim all of that. That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay, Jerry
yeah,
Garcia was a global citizen.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so
yeah. Well, I just think that, yeah, I think Eileen Gu wants it all her way. It's kind of selfish and Trumpy, and but I don't want to make her my Olympics issue because I like these Olympics, and I do watch Eileen Gu, and I want to see her do well. I mean, I don't root against her, but I just wish she was skiing for the United States.
yeah. Well, me too.
Yeah,
I just
and it's sad that she doesn't. But now she might get beat by this Zoe Aiken
sure.
from who is by birth Asian American,
That's right.
but skiing for Britain. And if Aiken wins, I think I'd be fine with that. I mean, it's just this is the free market, right?
Yep.
I mean, really, if you want to go with conservative values, that would be an example of free market values. Ski wherever you want. Don't make a big deal. JD Vance made it sort of a big deal. This year, I was less um, adamant about it than I was 4 years ago, but I still feel bad. I like her to be on our team.
Well, so
That,
the thing about Vance is that they all like to make patriotic noises. Okay,
oh yeah,
but the reality is that they're really the most unpatriotic people and destructive people.
yeah,
Okay, that have ever held those offices.
yeah.
Okay, like one
Well,
commentator today. Uh, are you okay?
yeah. I dropped something. I wanted to pick it up.
Okay.
But I'm okay. Yeah,
Was it?
but what
It,
our
it
one
wasn't. You're not back on the pipe again, are you?
Oh no, 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 no. It was
Oh,
just
yeah,
my pace. It was
yeah.
my pacemaker.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Just check the bats, check the
yeah,
batteries.
yeah.
Uh, 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 yeah,
So
they
you're,
make all these patriotic noises, right? And they
yeah,
all try to stand up to be heroes and all that. The
mhm.
reality is that they've been extremely destructive, um, and my problem is they got to pay a price. Okay, and we didn't talk much about Andrew, the former prince,
Oh
not and
yeah,
not to be confused, of course, by the real prince,
mhm.
but because he probably has no soul, much less funk. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
but he, the Lord Mountbatten has got caught dirty, right? Said
yeah,
I never knew her, and then she's got a photograph of her at that age, at the tender age of probably 14, 15 years old, something like that,
yeah,
with the prince. Oh my
yeah.
God, the former
Hey,
prince.
yeah. I didn't mean to give short shrift to Andrew. It's important, but what do you think? Is it time for America
Well,
to?
see that the comparisons are being made, and I think that's the point that we should make. Is the
Yeah,
comparisons are being made that even without a standard of proof, which would be through the courts, right? He's already being subjected, okay, to penalties because of the amount of proof short of the court system, right, that exists.
yeah.
We
In the court of
already
public
have,
opinion.
well, yeah, we
Yeah,
have enough probable cause
yeah,
now, even with the redacted material that the DOJ has put out. We have sufficient probable cause to open up grand jury hearings, right? Those are held in secret, right?
mhm,
And to go
mhm.
forward with indictments. We already have enough.
Yeah.
We should be talking to somebody that's in actual practice. I am not a practicing attorney, but we already have enough to support going forward with investigations. Okay,
Yeah. All right,
but
but now,
but the problem is the DOJ is
yeah, owned
Trump's.
by Trump.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
his.
his
That's
first.
his
But
legal
but
company.
here's the thing: they'll insist that Trump has done nothing wrong. He keeps saying, "I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong." And all right, so maybe, given the benefit of the doubt, his association with this thing, that should be enough for people to sour on him big time, right?
Yeah, yeah, but they've accepted all of the rest of the immoral ride that this fool has taken us on. They've
Yeah,
accepted that.
yeah,
They started accepting it in the first term.
Yeah.
You know, his
Access Hollywood. Access
he's not
Hollywood.
just immoral; he's amoral, right? He
Amoral.
doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, obviously unethical, and now unconstitutional and illegal, right? At
But
least in terms of his actions.
the thing is that this changes. I mean, our acceptance of it changes our country and it
Yes,
changes us.
it is. It is that acceptance is a symptom of the cultural malaise of American society. It took time for us to get here, right? And there are many contributing factors, all right?
Mm.
But we accepted Nixon getting off and going on to retirement with his legal license completely intact.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
and
mean, he got the
so
full
so
pardon from
yeah,
from
yeah,
Ford.
exactly. And I was in law school at the time, and the majority of my cohort were critical of my position, saying, "No, that's it." They said there's no precedent for the pardon to be exercised in that fashion. And I said, "How do you think precedents happen? There's
Yeah.
always a first time. This is that time." And when it happened, everybody shut the hell up. And my rep went throughout the institution. My rep went throughout the institution saying, "Yeah, that guy called it. He called it." Okay.
Well, all right. So here's the thing: we're here. Trump's immoral. I mean, Andrew is caught red-handed. He'll go through the system there. Prince Charles, his brother, has said, "Hey, we get the laws play. We let the law play out." I mean, we've had a week where the rule of law applies, and do we like
Yep. Yep.
this state better than we were like last week when there was no Andrew arrested and there was no Trump decision? Or do we like, yeah, do we like this rule of law America, or will it make a difference?
I think the majority of people are coming around. I think
I
they
hope.
understand. I think they understand that the rule of law is a necessity. That it and then they were thinking that it wasn't really that bad. They were thinking that there's limitation, right, to the excesses. And then when it started to affect them in real material terms, right, which is the typical kind of psychological response, right?
Mhm.
I think I brought up before this old text. The title was "Anger, Violence, and Politics," uh, and what it showed was that people have to be triggered by a personal experience. Okay,
Mhm.
and when they
Yeah.
were triggered by the feeling of economic, not simply malaise but loss,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
being depressed, right? And this happened even pre-COVID. Remember, people were complaining that the middle class was being compressed downward,
Yeah.
and that the upper middle class was being compressed upward, and the tax structure reinforces that.
Yeah.
The tax structure actually reinforces that. In order to get the real benefits of the big beautiful bill, you got to be making at least $250,000 a year,
Yeah.
at least that. Okay. Okay, and it improves all the way up to $400,000 a year. Okay,
Right.
so
So that, I mean, yeah.
yeah,
So all this really just showcases the great economic divide that exists.
yes, and we're being distracted from talking about that. That's one of the greatest domestic issues, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and people wanted to vote. I mean, the reason they voted for Trump was because they thought he could fix it. That he kept saying, "I'm going to lower prices." How are you going to do that?
Yeah. Affordability, fake issue, fake issue.
Yeah,
Affordability, fake issue. Fake
that's right.
issue, fake media, all you fake media. Affordability.
Yeah, and he gets cheered, right? And he's got the
Yeah.
ever shrinking crowds, right?
Yeah.
He's starting to get crowds that don't understand what he said. You ever
Yeah.
notice that? He pauses because he expects there to be a cheer or applause line, and
Yeah.
the crowd is going, "Huh?" They didn't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, Marla Maples laughed at all my jokes, and look what happened to her.
Uh, Yeah, but
So
does Tiffany laugh?
Tiffany, yeah. Hey, so all right, Dan. On that sobering thought, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, the Andrew thing. I like to see Andrew get justice, but if Andrew gets justice, it's not. And justice is one thing. Accountability. We want
That's
we.
the whole thing. It's who should be the people who get justice is the victims.
Yeah,
They're the people that need to get justice. And I can't wait for the Trump administration to end in one way or another. It's going to end,
it's
okay?
gonna end.
And
It's
and
gonna.
and I can't wait to see what happens to Pam Bondi. I really, I really
Yeah.
am looking forward to that.
Will she
Because
be practicing law? No, I think she's gonna be like a Fox anchor or something. I think she's gonna be like
yeah,
Janine
sure,
Pirro.
sure.
Forget, forget. I mean, because she can't. She has no credibility as a lawyer.
Yeah, well, and Fox News, so-called Fox News, is going to look like the pantheon of losers.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
already look like pantheon of losers, right? People are starting to say, "Nah, no," you know.
yeah. Just keep your pantheon, Pam Bondi.
It's going to be really fun. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't wait to see what happens to these people, right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I
there
well,
ain't
I
no
look.
pardons. There ain't no pardons coming, man. There ain't no
eh,
pardons coming.
Yeah, at least Trump has immunity, right? He's got immunity for some things.
Yeah. Yep.
But you're right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you,
But the
SCOTUS. Thank you,
Yeah,
SCOTUS.
but the pardons, you're right. Well, we're the pardons for
Ain't
people
gonna
like
be no
Hegg said
pardon.
they're bounty. Yeah,
That's over.
yeah.
That's
All
over.
right. Well,
Hey,
Dan, look, we talked ourselves on a Saturday all throughout, and um, I'll watch the hockey game tonight. I'm rooting for the Americans,
obviously, yeah,
right? Got to
yeah.
root for the Americans.
They're really good. I mean, it's really fun to watch them. And
Although,
this was really predictable, right? That if it was,
yeah,
if they played the way they played all during the season, right?
mhm,
In their respective teams,
yeah.
man, they're going to be great. Now the problem is they got Celebrini, man.
Oh
they
yeah,
got they
Celebrini,
got the
he's good.
shark on Canada.
Yeah.
He's Canadian, and so
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Celebrini is playing for the Canadians, not for the
yes,
U.S. Oh, well,
dude.
here's the thing that bothers me. Jason Robertson, a Filipino American,
Yeah.
could have been on the NHL team. He's a star with the Dallas Stars. Got left out. Should have been there. I think he should have been there. But now you been. I forgot all about Celebrini. But Celebrini, he's a key figure. Um, I I hope he does well, but I hope the team doesn't win. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's
Oh
how you,
yeah.
that's how
No,
you cut it down.
it's going to be a hell of a showdown.
Yeah, yeah.
You think it's going to be a defensive match or a shootout?
I don't know. I think probably a shootout.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I'm hoping for.
It'd
Keep
be
it
a whole lot
exciting.
more fun. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Dan.
All right,
Listen,
man.
thanks again. Take care. There he
Thank you very
goes.
much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There he goes. Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, Professor Emeritus. He knows everything. Or thinks he does. No, he knows most things, most things, most things. So, yeah, the hockey team. But there's some nuggets in there. Go back, listen to it. We've been on for about hour and 23 minutes or so. So thinking about tariffs, thinking about SCOTUS, Trump, thinking about the Iran. Is there going to be I hope there's not an Iran war. I hope not. Before we go, let me remind you of some things that I'm doing. I want you to go to amok.com, my website, and I'll tell you about all the things I'm doing coming up in March. I'm going up to Sacramento at Laughs Unlimited for a little set on Wednesday. I'll be there if you're in Sacramento. Um, I'm going to be in Fresno if you happen to be in Fresno, February 27th and 28th. So check that out. The Rogue Festival in Fresno. Go to roguefestival.org for tickets there. I'm going to be back at San Francisco at the SF Playground, or I think it's playground-sf.org. They're doing a comedy festival, and it's fun. There's some improv groups there. I'll be doing my hybrid solo show stand-up. Check it out. March 15th, 16th, 17th at amok.com. I'll put it down there. But it's I'm looking forward to that. So I've got a lot of shows outside. Hope you can make it. In the meantime, we like to close every show with a little loving kindness. Show some loving kindness, because redemption. I mean, you think about Jesse Jackson, you got to think about redemption. Redemption, and he was a reverend. I heard a story told that people were wondering why Jesse Jackson was open to people who were the sinners, and why he was open to them coming, when he came on his show. And he said, well, I'm in the redemption business, which got me, because there should be no people who are irredeemable. Although I can think of one. I can think of one, right? Can you think of one? No, he's dead. That guy's dead. But there should be no one who's irredeemable, right? Anyway, so loving kindness. I end with a note of loving kindness. Sharon Salzberg, one of my gurus. I love the gurus, right? I have you need more than one guru, and I've got a handful. Shinzen, Sharon Salzberg, Michael Singer. I love the gurus because they help straighten you. Not Deepak Chopra. Deepak Chopra. Well, I like Deepak Chopra, but I mean, if you want a guru who's in the Epstein files, I guess you pick Deepak Chopra. But loving kindness, Sharon Salzberg, not in the Epstein files. Not in the Epstein files. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Have a great weekend. Mahal Gita.